Good evening, everyone. I'm Verney Gypsy from Earthkeepers Connect Goa, your host for this evening, the sixth day of the pre-summit webinars leading up to the new Earth Summit in November, India's first integrative summit on solutions to our problems in health, food and farming, and the environment. I extend a warm thanks on behalf of our summit convener, Daryl D'Souza, and on behalf of our members of our 10 Earthkeeper groups in India and overseas, to our esteemed panelists of this evening, and we express gratitude to you for taking out time from your busy schedules to be with us and to share your wisdom. So that all watching this webinar and its recording later may live healthier lives. Our topic for today is healing cancer. I will start with introducing our panelists to the audience. Jay Sutaria. Food activist Jay Sutaria is the co-founder of Anne Heirloom Foods, Goa, working under the aegis of Annie Coley to propagate her philosophy of Circle of God that includes farm, food, and health. At Anne, Jay works closely with heirloom superfoods and people with chronic conditions. At Anne or anywhere, Jay helps people navigate through the many complexities of modern science and demystifies perspectives on many relevant issues such as organic certified food, cancer, and other autoimmune conditions. His message is followed through by real solutions and the power of ancient foods. Daryl D'Souza. Daryl D'Souza's reversal from 14 years of sickness to a state of complete well-being within just 1 year of using integrated natural therapies is a story that has inspired millions across the globe to lead healthier lives. His book, Become Healthy or Extinct, on curing chronic illnesses with integrated natural therapies, finds readership in close to 200 countries. Daryl does disease reversal workshops all across India, and he also served a 5-year term as the secretary of the World United Doctors and Healers Association. He hosts platforms and events for doctors, healers, and therapists to work together and has curated and convened 4 mind, body, and spirit healing conferences. Daryl is also an organic farmer, a TEDx speaker, founder of Earthkeepers Connect, co-founder of the Mani Padma Foundation, convener of the New Earth Summit, and a speaker at the World Parliaments on Spirituality. Dr. Shikha Agarwal. Dr. Shikha Agarwal has been the practicing physician and health educator at Healthy Healing Center Goa since 2005. She has successfully treated thousands of patients who have come to her with a great variety of ailments, including serious complicated cases. Dr. Shikha is a member of the Indian Medical Association. In 2006, she passed a postgraduate degree in holistic health issued by Apollo Hospitals. Since May 2007, Dr. Shikha holds the degree of CMT or Clinical Metal Toxicologist. In June 2019, Dr. Shikha also became a member of the Institute of Functional Medicine. Dr. Evelyn Sequeira. Dr. Evelyn Sequeira, MD, is a womb keeper, internationally certified Heal Your Life workshop leader and life coach, and self-mastery facilitator, gestalt, therapist, TEDx speaker, mother, entrepreneur, author, sound and voice therapist, and expressive arts therapist. She is an MD in preventive and social medicine from SET GS Medical College and KEM Hospital. She also holds management degrees from Wellington Management Institute and Narsim Munji Management Institute. She is a certified Tibetan sound bowl practitioner level 3, teacher of the sacred feminine, and a womb healer and magnified healing practitioner. She conducts workshops using fun tools of expressive art therapy, dance movement, sound, and voice therapy, and has been trained and certified by master trainers, national and international agencies, and institutes for the last 13 years. Earlier, she had a successful work career as health and nutrition specialist with UNICEF India and many government and non-government agencies for 11 years. She has a company, Sacred Lotus Womb Academy, which has a vision of creating a new earth from each individual, where each individual lives consciously from a space of love, peace, joy, good health, and wisdom. Her expertise lies in women's health issues pertaining to the womb, inner child healing, sexual trauma healing, and balancing the individual's inner feminine and masculine energies to live fulfilled lives to their highest potential. We will now begin our 3 rounds of questions for our panelists that will conclude in 1 hour so that we can keep the next hour for Q&A with the audience. Accordingly, I request each panelist to address each question in a maximum of 5 minutes. For those in our audience who would like to receive the recorded video of this webinar, please visit earthkeepersconnect.org and subscribe to notifications from our mobile news app. Our audience need not wait for 1 hour to type in their questions in the Q&A box. So here are questions for the panelists. Why is cancer such a common occurrence nowadays? I would request Evelyn Sequeira to start.
Thank you, Daryl, and thank you, esteemed panelists. I'm so grateful to be here and all the audience, and also this platform of the internet and the online space. Grateful for this space. Well, the very first question that is about why is cancer such a common occurrence? Now, I've had this space where I've been the medical doctor as well as now I'm the Jadoo Tona Jantar Mantar doctor as well. So, you know, dancing between both the banks and now right in the middle of the river. You know, I use a lot of metaphors because I think basically I'm a storyteller. The whole idea of why cancer is happening, you know, more, what I feel right now is because people are disconnected from their physical bodies. We are doing a lot of work where, you know, even in the spiritual world or where it comes to doing regular work, daily work, where the mind is a lot in focus. We are working harder, we are doing, and that's the energy. And when we are using our bodies beyond its capacities, there is a breakdown. Now, what really happens here is the body is trying to send us signals, and somewhere I feel this whole doing is affecting our physical body, where I'm not in touch with my body. And in psychology, it is said that the body is matter. Matter is mother. You know, so when we are not in touch with the mother within us, or even the mother outside us, which is Mother Earth. And that is what the Earth Keepers Summit is all about. When there is a disconnect, that is when the rise of non-communicable diseases, and cancer is one of them. And of course, if we want to really break down, so if we look at physical space, we are literally ripping Mother Earth apart. You know, the amount of pesticides in the soil, the amount of chemicals that are present in our food. What are we inhaling? What are we ingesting? You know, in terms of the physical things that we are doing to our body. In addition to that, our minds are filled with toxic thoughts. Forever afraid. We are so afraid. Many people, like in the course of my work that I've met, and even me, been through the fight, flight, and freeze syndrome like forever. Forever thinking that there is a war happening, both inside and outside. So when there is so much fear, the body is always living in this state of threat. Always the sympathetic nervous system is on an overdrive. What does that do? That sends the whole hormones into a disarray. When we look at the emotional health, in fact, there's a lot of work that I'm doing right now on something called as adverse childhood events. And now there are lots of studies done which prove that if the ACE score, ACE is the adverse childhood events, if the score, it's a questionnaire with 10 questions. So when you are a child, what kind of a household did you grow up in? And if there was a lot of physical, mental, and emotional abuse and neglect, then those individuals are at a higher chance of getting communicable, non-communicable diseases, cancer being one of them. So my whole understanding of why this is happening, I will only say one thing, is that the disconnect from the body and cancer or any other ailment is a call from the body. The symptom is a call from the body asking us to come back to our body, connect back with it, bring it back to full health. This is what I feel is the reason for the most common occurrence from my space.
Thank you, Evelyn. Now, the next question, next panelist we'll ask is Jay, if you would like to take this.
First of all, thank you, Daryl, for this opportunity to express some ideas at your amazing platform that you've created. I'll get straight into the question. Why is cancer such a common occurrence nowadays? So first I want to address this question. I want to actually elaborate a little bit on the question itself, which is how common is the occurrence of cancer? Everyone knows, okay, cancer is common, but how common is the occurrence? Let me give you a perspective. We all know what this pandemic has created in our lives, and we all know the number of deaths. Information is out there. Just this is a good time to throw light on what is cancer, in fact, and how widespread it is. The official statistics for USA and a lot of developed nations, the official statistics announced by the governments and other agencies, is that about half of their population will be diagnosed of cancer in this lifetime.
And when I say environment, Dr. Sequeira really put it right. First and foremost is our lifestyle. And in lifestyle, it's the circadian rhythm I actually put at the top. Are we following our body's circadian rhythm? Are we waking up and sleeping at right times? Are we allowing our body to go into the mode where it is working hard and then it is resting, plus it is exercising, or it's just work and party, or work and sedentary lifestyle? These factors play a big role in how our body responds to certain things that happen in the system to produce cancer. Smoking, drinking, drugs, diet, junk food, lifestyle, the kind of food that's available in the market, it cannot be emphasized enough. You know, you go on Sangola, Chogam Road, and so many new stores have opened up. There's a donut store, there's a gastronut, God knows, there's so many of the junk food stores, and every supermarket there's shelves and shelves of junk food. Everybody is eating that. So all of this high refined junk food and then high animal protein diet. You know, in India, in a country like India, high animal protein diet literally have its effect in creating cancer. Then even in animal protein diet, you could choose certain animal proteins which your body can take better. For example, some good fish, maybe it's a light animal protein, but chicken, especially the broiler chicken, the kind of, first the coop in which a chicken is kept. Imagine the stress that chicken is in, and then the stress hormone that's going into you, apart from all the hormones and antibiotics and chemicals that go along with it. So they add to, that is one of the reasons. One factor Dr. Sequeira already pointed out, emotions, fear, stress, they play a huge role. In fact, I am treating a patient these days who is so afraid of dying from cancer that the fear has taken over, in the sense that she's become almost unresponsive to any treatment she takes. Fear is one of the major factors that will kill you. And these days, the kind of environment we are in and the way about the coronavirus, they have spread the fear around. The fear is taking its toll, which is pushing people towards taking rash decisions, following what the media is telling you, going towards, oh, everybody's waiting for vaccine, educated, uneducated. So the fear is going to be the downfall. One other thing medically fear does or stress does is it makes you breathe shallow. When you breathe shallow, you have less oxygen. Less oxygen means your cells now are in an anaerobic mode, less oxygen mode. You know, Otto Warburg has said it in early 20th century that cancer is caused by in anaerobic conditions. Lack of oxygen leads to cancer. So breathing, deep breathing, relaxing is lacking these days. That's why cancer is increasing. And then on top of it, radiations. Can't speak enough about radiations. 3G, first the cell phones came and then 3G, 4G, now 5G. In fact, 3G considered harmless is really harmless. You know, 3G, I can even put an example here. I used to treat patients, I'm treating for 15 years. In the first 5 or 7 years, whenever I started a detox treatment on patients, in 10 days or 15 days, they started to show signs of reversal, good health. But nowadays, I can't even dare to put my patients on a deep cellular cleansing straight away because their system cannot clean itself properly. And I read somewhere that the wavelengths, the frequencies that 3G had, they somehow clash with the frequencies of your liver and kidney, which leads to a decreased detoxification capacity of these organs. So, and every phone had a mandatory 3G. So when 3G came, that is when I started to see that patients have started to not detox properly, or they go through such bad detox reactions if you try to give them a deep cellular cleanse that I cannot even dare to put that. They have to first really work on cleaning their kidneys and liver. So that is one of the reasons why cancer is increasing toxic load in our system. EMF, radiation poisoning, then so many man-made toxins. You know, a cigarette, the masala that's in a cigarette has 500 chemicals inside. Just one cigarette. And how many people smoke, how much these days? Passive smoking, active smoking. The same way the food colors and flavor enhancers in everything you buy from the market. If you actually make a mango shake with a real mango and a real yogurt, you don't need a flavor and you don't need a sweetener and you don't need a color. But if you buy a Maaza drink from the market and you read the ingredients, what is it full of? Flavors and colors, because it hardly has mango. So too many of the artificial stuff in our food, too many food toxins and pesticides and household toxins, industrial toxins. All of these toxins are accumulating in our system because we're not able to throw them out. And that is why cancer is rampantly increasing in the society right now.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Shika. So now I would request Daryl to say a few words on why is cancer such a common occurrence nowadays.
If Jay's mic is working, Jay, could you please complete what you were saying?
Yeah.
Hi, Jay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I don't know how it got disconnected.
No problem.
So I will try to take off from where I left. I was trying to say that, cancer, there is a clue in understanding how widespread cancer is, to understand cancer itself. See, although I agree with the other panelists 100% in saying that all these factors have a play and stress and emotional, but what is happening is that because we don't have real answers and no one is seeing real solutions, real answers come when you see real solutions. But right now, everyone is lost a little with the topic of cancer because we are not seeing enough solutions on the ground, actually people healing and curing themselves. Cancer today is something that if you get cancer, you're very likely to die. The mortality rate is high. So there is a clue in trying to understand how widespread it is, where it is. Cancer is found practically on all places on earth, including on mountain tops where Buddhist monks live a very peaceful life without any mobile networks, a very disciplined, peaceful, kind life with not really any stress as such. And even they're getting cancer. Yoga gurus are getting cancer. Doctors, politicians, sportsmen, you name it, and there is cancer in all these places. The one thing, and I'll also add one more thing about stress. if you talk about stress, modern day stress, we actually live in a very comfortable world. There have been days of slavery, rape, murder, war on a daily basis for decades throughout someone's life, but they didn't get cancer. Stress makes an already weak condition worse. It's not the other way around. Having said that, the one thing that's common in all these places is food. All humans need to eat food, and the food that we're eating has come a far way from what we call original food or genetically unmodified food. So like Dr. Shikha said, there are chemicals, there are pesticides. So all these things, they go into our body and they create an acidic environment, and finally we have a genetic malfunction within ourselves, a group of cells in our body. It says that, we can't take these molecules anymore, we can't process them. They see it as toxins, and when they say we can't tolerate these toxins in our body anymore, they go into kind of self-protection mode, where they say, okay, now we are going to survive, we are going to kill anything that's in our way, and we want our own country. They start screaming and yelling, and they're inflamed, and that's how we describe cancer. So it's not a disease, it's a state of being. It's an extreme sort of a version of being acidic. It's like saying, okay, I'm cured of acidity, but it's not something to cure. Either in a state where your acidity is very high, or you're comfortable. Cancer is unfortunately an extreme version of the same idea, where it's a state of being of the body where the cells are getting inundated with artificial problems, mostly in the form of food molecules that are not getting processed fully. They're leaving free radicals in our body. It collects as toxins, and our cells can't take it beyond the point anymore. And that's why no matter what kind of a life you lead, whether you're a yoga guru or a Buddhist monk, there are chances you'll get cancer, as long as we're all eating the same food, which is practically genetically mutated food is being grown all over the world. We've lost our heirloom strains in most parts of the world. In a country like India, we're lucky we still have a lot of it. And that's what we try to work at and promote. So it's not just chemicals, it's artificial molecules of different varying degrees that are entering our body through various means and accumulating as toxins. And that's the reason why cancer is so ubiquitous all over the world. And to the extent that I will say that I always say this, and people sometimes get alarmed or upset about this statement, but I say it because I believe that climate change is not the problem of tomorrow. If a couple of billion people die because of cancer in the next couple of decades, your carbon footprint of the world will drop drastically. There will be no climate issue. There is a problem, there's a climate change problem within our body more than the one outside. If we try to fix the one inside our body, the world will be taken care of. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay. So now I would request Daryl to continue the conversation.
Yes, thank you, Miguel. Thank you, Verna. I agree with what the panelists have said. Certain cancers happening because of stress, because of food. And I would also like to add one more aspect through an explanation that I will give, which will explain why those Buddhist monks who are living in the mountain tops, who don't eat packaged food products, right? They are probably eating something very natural and organic from their space. So how can one explain that particular kind of case? So the popular definition of cancer in the world, according to me, is wrong. And in my book, Become Healthy or Extinct, I have given a very close to reality, the correct proper definition of cancer, what I've researched over the last 15 years and seeing, of how cancer behaves across different countries, different people, different places in the body. So the popular definition of cancer is that, every cell has a memory and it knows when to die, because people have understood now different cells, of the body, they live for a different time and they die at a certain time. So the theory is that, I call it a theory. Uh, Theory is that every cell knows when to die, and there are some cells that they forget to die, and they keep on growing and becoming bigger and bigger. Cells of the human body or cells of a dog, whatever gets cancer. Now, my reply to that is the cells of the human body that have evolved through so many, millions of years through different mutations and, uh, uh, different environments. It has got such a great intelligence that I don't believe for even 1 second that they have lost their memory. Okay. So what is the definition of cancer that I give? And it's just in one line. Cancer is the reactive expression of a cell when subjected to chronic irritation. So what is chronic irritation? I'll just give a simple example. Suppose I come across to your cheek and with a sharp nail, I start scratching your cheek, okay? And it continues for an hour and it continues for 2 hours. You're going to have your skin is going to come off, okay? And you're going to have a wound and it's going to be bleeding. Now I stop doing it after some time. And then, okay, probably, the next day there's a little bit of healing happening. But then again, the next day I come and scratch it again for 2 hours, right? And this happens, like suppose even if you fall down and you bruise your knee, okay, you get a scab on it after a day. But imagine that you fall on the same part of your knee every day in succession, right? So for a week you've fallen on it for 7 times, and what's going to happen there? That scab, isn't it going to become bigger and bigger and bigger and a big lump? And after a week, somebody's going to look at you and say, "Hey, what's that cancer growing on your foot? I mean, on your knee." Right? So this is the natural mechanism of the human body. When the certain thing attacks it, okay, and damages it, it only knows one thing. The human body, the cells know one thing, is how to repair themselves and put layer and layer of healing. So now I come to this space where I'm saying that there are three types of cancers: what I call energy cancer, a substance cancer, and a parasitic cancer. When you have very stressful emotions all of the time, there are so many women, who are getting breast cancer, and it's coming out of a combination of two things. So the first I'll talk about energy. So energy within the human body can get very stressful in different emotional centers or chakra centers, what you call. And besides energy within the human body, you have energy outside. Okay, your laptop all of the time, your mobile phone all of the time, and now, like Dr. Shika mentioned, the 3G, the 4G, and the even 100 times deadlier 5G. So these are inorganic and energy fields around the body, and the body has different frequencies, what I call harmonic energy. So there's a constant impinging of energy that's coming into your body. So that's a chronic irritation. So on energy, you could have your own energy, that is anger, frustration, hate, guilt, all the negative emotions that are working inside your body and your organs. Then you can have external energy that is, attacking you. So chronic is when it's there at a regular pace. Okay, starts damaging your cellular structure, and like it's just imagine it's not a physical nail, but it's an energy, like it's a laser beam that's keeping on tapping your body. So now the second kind of irritant is a substance irritant. And a substance irritant, one of the main channels is food. And that's what Jay is talking about. The chemicals put in the soil, they come into our food. And then besides that, we take that food product and we put it in packaged food products with a lot of chemicals. We have a lot of inorganic material through the root of food getting into the human body. And they keep on, just imagine that it's just scratching your throat, then scratching your stomach, then scratching your this, and near some loops and bends, it's going to get stuck, and there you'll have an ulcer happening after some time. Anything natural, the human body will pass it and there'll be no damage to the cells. But something unnatural and abrasive is going to create scratching. So these different levels of scratching are called very conveniently. It's called like a tumor. It's called an ulcer. It's called a benign tumor. And then there is one that is called malignant tumor. So we look at what malignant tumor is. So through the route of food and through the route of cosmetics. So the majority of women getting breast cancer because if they've got stressed relationships and then they're putting all these cosmetics on their face and all, everything is absorbed by the lymph nodes and they are coming here, lymph nodes under your arm, they're coming here. Everything finally comes under the breast. Okay, everything that you put on your face and your neck and your arms and your this, it all comes under the breast. So you have a woman who has a bad, stressful relationships as well as so that's energy cancer starting to happen, energy attacking her cells of her breast, and then substance also attacking. So now the third type of cancer, what I'm saying is a parasitic cancer. There are germs that come from outside the body and get into the body, and the human body has got mechanisms to, let's say, neutralize and kill about 10,000 germs. But there exist 1 lakh germs in this surroundings, and there are some, and the names are given in my book on cancer. There's a chapter on cancer in my book. The names are given of the intestine fluke, like Bacillopsis fusci, and the liver fluke, there's the pancreatic fluke. So these parasites, when they get into the human body is not able to kill them, and they start actually eating up the cells of the human body. Okay, so that's what I call a parasitic cancer. And this is the very seldom case of the yogi or the monk on the top of the hill getting a cancer. It is most probably a parasitic cancer because they don't have any stress, they don't use mobile phones, and they're eating very natural food. This is the same case where you'll see they say that in the pyramids in Egypt, in the some of the pharaohs, it was found that there was a cancer. Cancer dates back to 10,000 years, and that is true. There have been parasites on this planet for the longest time. They have been there before us. Okay, and if they get into the human body, then it can cause this cancer. So I just say the worst kind of cancer because I've been also treating some patients who had cancer. The worst kind of cancer is when you have a person with stress who's eating packaged foods or especially from the animal industry where there are all high amount of hormones and antibiotics and a lot of stress coming in the meat and the milk and all of that. So you have a stress life, you have a, substance irritation through food and all this modern cosmetics, and then finally if you're going to get a parasite into your body, those parasites also what cause anal abscesses. Okay, so the worst case is a person having all of three of them. The easiest is to, so I'll come, maybe the next question we'll get to talk about what are the cures. So I'm saying this is the condition human beings are living in: stress, bad electricities, too many gadgets, okay, and eating junk and chemical food all of the time. And yes, the amount of parasites, and like now the viruses are also coming after us from the jungle and from the animals. So it's very evident that parasites are also on the increase because of our mismanagement of things. So I think that's we are all set up very big time to have cancer increasing like Jay said in our lifetimes. I think that's going to happen if we don't do something smart about it.
Sure. Thank you, Daryl. It looks like we have some questions also from the attendees. So now to the next question. What advice would you give to people about preventing cancer? So, Dr. Shika, would you like to take this?
The way to prevent cancer lies in understanding what causes cancer. The answer to the first question actually gives the answer to the second question. So as Daryl said, cancer is not something which is like coming from outside. He said that it's the cells of our body which have lost their self-destructive mechanism. So what happens is we have over 70 trillion cells in our body. And all of them are dividing regularly, producing new cells, and old and diseased cells are supposed to die regularly. Each cell has a lifespan and they must die after that. Some of the cells actually don't, for the reasons we discussed above, or for some other reasons. They mutate in order to survive. They don't have that mechanism of destructing, self-destruct. So that's what we need to understand, that cancer is produced in the body. It is made of our own cells. And all of us have cancer cells. Just that all of us don't develop tumors and get diagnosed with cancer. So the difference between a person with a tumor and no tumor is their immune system. If we want to treat ourselves, we want to prevent cancer, we need to create a terrain, an internal terrain, which is kind of, you can say, which is not permissive to development of a tumor. You can, and it's in our hands. How do we do this? Do we basically have to work on removing the factors which create that kind of a terrain where cancer can grow, an acidic terrain? This acidic terrain, as we discussed, is through stress. So one thing that people can do in order to prevent stress is connect to their bodies. Start living a life where they can relax, where they can breathe, do their exercises regularly, move their system. They should also try and remove the toxic load. Simplify your life. Move to simple times. Move to raw foods, to whole foods, to eating foods that you cook at home instead of eating always in a restaurant. Once in a while it works. If you don't have a cancer, once in a while a cheat day works. But otherwise, it's good to connect to yourself, connect to the universe or the earth, everything at large. That is how you prevent cancer. You change your habits. You stop smoking on a very regular basis. Okay, one cigarette here and there. If you have a good immune system, you can still take, but maybe not 20 cigarettes a day. The same way, you need to work with your emotional traumas, your traumas that you carry from your childhood, the traumas that you have. Any kind of PTSD can lead to cancer because it can get crystallized in your system. You need to work with that. I believe acupressure really helps to open up energy channels, to increase the energy of your organs, the spleen energy, the liver energy, kidney energy, so that the system is moving. That will help you to prevent cancer. In the same way, you need to remove toxins from your daily life. Go to a store, choose foods where you can understand the ingredients, where the list of ingredients is short, not more than 5 or 7 ingredients. If you see a list of ingredients and you can't understand what's inside, don't buy it. That's a simple way. That's what I always tell everybody, and I repeat it again and again. Always go to a store and look at the ingredients first before you buy a product. It will tell you what you are buying. And in the same way, when you are choosing personal care products, try and choose from companies which are now, there are so many companies which give you personal care products which don't have chemicals inside. Simple ways how you prevent cancer is how you can reduce the exposure to outside chemicals and toxins as much as possible. Likewise, when you go sleep at night, make sure your Wi-Fi is turned off. Make sure your computer, your gadgets are not in your room. They're at least in another room, if not turned off or put on airplane mode or something. So try to disconnect from radiations as much as possible. Don't keep phone in your pant pocket, because it will lead to prostate cancers eventually. And otherwise, keep it in your handbag. Keep it away from your body. Don't keep it close to your body all the time. Keep cell phones away. That's one of the ways to prevent radiation poisoning. And then this is how you basically prevent cancer. And on top of everything, detox. Clean yourself regularly. Do some fasting. Do the 3 cleanses that are mentioned in Daryl's book, the liver, kidney, parasite cleanse regularly. You need to detox. You need to allow a relaxation system, because we live in an environment we can't 100% prevent all the exposure to all the toxins coming from everywhere. Once here or there, we'll get it. Even if we eat totally organic, are we sure it is totally organic? Because the rain that falls on these plants farms is, I mean, you don't know where the water is coming from. It could be coming from on the clouds formed over a factory. What do you know? So we cannot always be sure that we have totally clean, even if we are eating everything clean, keeping clean and safe. So clean, detox regularly. That will help you prevent cancer.
Great. Thank you, Doctor. Now I think a question forward to Jay. Would you like to take this one?
Thank you. I'd like to address, like Dr. Shikha, can you hear me? Hello?
I can hear you very well. Thank you.
So, Daryl mentioned that, the monk on the mountain may have had parasitic cancer, but it's not just one monk, and it's many people living in the mountains, and many people living in jungles, well, not so much jungles, but rural areas are getting cancer. And the common denominator really seems to be the modern crops. And even if they're eating or they're growing it organically, we have, again, we'll call it a theory, that here I'll give you a perspective about cancer and food, where cancer, I think most people would agree that it's called a sort of a genetic malfunction in our cells, where like Daryl explained, that the cells don't function the way they normally should, and they go a little crazy, you can say, and they start doing things that are not okay for your body. And what has happened is, these unnatural molecules that also Daryl mentioned. So our theory is that, natural and unnatural is not a black and white line. It's like saying, nowadays you get bananas, for example, in the market, which have no seeds. When I grew up as a child, I never remember eating a banana which didn't have a lot of black seeds in the center.
So I want to thank Dr. Shikha, for really putting out all the points there so beautifully. And from my space, what I really want to tell all of us who are attending here, and I feel this is also a message for me, for preventing cancer, one of the biggest things that has worked, I feel, is slowing down. We're all in a hurry. There is so much happening in so little time we want to accomplish, and there's so much to do. And that is the energy which we need to pay attention to, is to slow down. Go back to the wisdom of our grandmother and grandfathers. If they were living off the land, okay, if the generation is again grandmothers and grandfathers who were working for companies, and then go one generation behind. So the grandmother who lived off the land knew exactly what to cook on that particular day, how much to cook, and how to feed her children. The grandfather knew what to do with the land, work in the fields according to the seasons, what crops need to be sown, or what needs to grow on the land as per the seasons, and living off the land, they had a wisdom of their own, and their body understood something much more than what we understand today. So prevention will come in all these different levels. But the basic point, what I feel is, if you want to keep your body in that space of healthy living, or a holistic, healthy space, what we call perfect health, then there has to be that sense of connecting to Mother Earth. And Mother Earth works in cycles. If you see now, we are in the season of autumn, and now soon leading to winter. What does she tell us? She tells us that it is time for me to shed all my old leaves, and I'm moving into winter, which is where all my seeds are sown, and they are waiting there in darkness. But what are we doing? We are behaving as if we are in summer throughout the year. We are wanting to be productive. We want to do more and more. But if you look at the wisdom, there were separate crops that were sown during summer and rainy season, and there were separate, small crops that would be sowed during the winter time. So not too much work, and a lot more to relax. So if we can go back to the wisdom of our ancient ancestors, that I think will also pave the way towards prevention. In addition to everything that Dr. Shikha has mentioned, and even where Jay is leading us, is paying attention to the food, paying attention to all the different channels through which we can get chemicals into our body. So my mother was diagnosed with breast cancer when she was 35 years of age. And then, of course, she underwent surgery, and she got well, and she stayed cancer-free for almost about 20 years after that. And then it recurred the next time, and then we lost mom to cancer. So I have always been, and being a medical doctor, I always wondered, what really went wrong? Because the first time that she was diagnosed, she went into a very healthy lifestyle, and she was eating the right kind of food. She was doing the right kind of exercise, everything. Of course, she had a lot of emotional health issues, which she had not paid attention to. And maybe at that time, we were not even equipped to even know that led to the illness. But what I'm arriving at is that the treat or the prevention of any ailment is holistic. We look at the body, we look at the energy, we look at mind, how it works, the emotional state, as well as our connection to spirit, everything. It's like having all these facets running in an harmonious way. It cannot be one and not the other. It has to all go together. So when I stopped coloring my hair, and people would say, "Oh my God, you're so young, and you need to color your hair." And I realized that I grayed very early because I did suffer from PTSD. I had a lot of abusive childhood, and that led to a lot of anxiety and panic attacks. And I grayed very early because of the excess stress in the body. So I told myself that at least what I can do is I can work on my internal stress, and at the same time, I can prevent putting more chemicals in my body. And then I stopped coloring the hair. It's a tough journey. It's not easy because we are living in a world where people will question you. They will tell you 20 things, and they make you feel miserable. Especially all the aunties will tell you, your husband looks younger than you and all that drama kind of things. But you need to be firm. You need to know what you are arriving at, and that has to be, a focused approach. That yes, I want to be cancer free, and I want to see that my family also is. And today I'm very proud to say that, at home, I wouldn't say we've eliminated all the junk food, but at least a lot of it is gone. And now we're eating actually food which is cooked at home. And yes, of course, we are not getting organic vegetables, but in our own ways, we can, we do a detox, we take a break, and go for massages, do a panchakarma with Ayurveda, and do all those cleanses to actually get all that toxin overload out of the body. Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Evelyn. That's very interesting. Now let's see if Jay will lead us forward.
Uh,
Yes, you're with.
Prevention. So I think what we need to do, I think all the panelists are on the same line, and we need to go back to our roots. But we have to look at it a little more closely. If it's such a big problem, and we all are saying we know, that stress is a problem and chemicals are a problem, and still we are not able to really take control of the situation, then there must be something else. And that's why I call it a theory. We have to look at our meaning of what we call organic very closely first. What we call organic today is a lot of crops that are actually genetically mutated. So this is not the genetic modification that Monsanto does in the lab. We're talking about genetic mutation of crop varieties. For example, everyone knows gluten intolerance is a big issue nowadays. And that is a very blatant example of genetic mutation in wheat. It's not called genetic modification. So technically, I call it genetic mutation, but it is just a different degree of the same problem. And what happens is when we eat these genetically mutated crops, thinking that they're organic because we've not put chemicals in the farm, and we eat it and we think that this is the best nature can give us, it's not true, because what we've done is man has practically mutated every crop that he has interest in. And these genetic mutations is what our cells cannot decipher beyond a point. Also, apart from, of course, the chemicals, which are just dead molecules as far as our cells go. When they see it as completely dead molecules, and they can't interact with it, they can't break it down, they don't know how to throw it out, and it gets stuck, and then they get confused, and that's cancer. But a different level of degree also happens when we think there are a lot of people eating organic food and yet getting their cancers back. People who have cancers, they've gone away, and they think they're eating organic food, and the cancer comes back. And they've been doing yoga, and they've given up all their work, and they're trying to lead a peaceful life and not be on the mobile all the time, and still their cancer is coming back, because the person thinks that the person is eating organic food, because the definition of organic is not what our ancestors knew. Our ancestors ate what we call today heirloom food, which is basically ungenetically mutated crop produce. And that is a big hole in this understanding of the relationship between organic food and cancer. And that's one of the reasons why we believe, and it's our theory, that these genetic mutations are the ones that cause a lot of it's a big culprit in the genetic malfunction of our cells. So please stick to heirloom gouti food. In Goa it's called gouti, in Maharashtra it's called different states it's called different things, nati, desi. These are all the different words, and these are original crops, not mutated by man. So please eat that, because apart from being stress-free and giving up, not allowing chemicals to go inside your body, and the obvious other things that will affect a state like cancer, which is a highly acidic state. It can get affected by everything. And also what Daryl mentioned, about they found a cancer 10,000 years ago. So from what I understand from some older people who've been in the medical field, that back in the day, they had tumors. They did not have what is a cancer, how cancer behaves. So these tumors would come in people and they would go, but they would not behave like completely destructive cancers of today. So I'm not sure if cancer was always there. And it was definitely not there in the large populations as we see it, even through the age of slavery and rape and war, where there is, you cannot even compare that stress to today's stress. And yet there were no cancers going around at the time. So I beg people to really focus on the real issues of today, which is that we have genetically mutated all our crops.
Great. Thank you, Jay. It was very interesting. Now we'll take it to Daryl.
In agreement with what Jay says regarding our food. So most of our food, and like he put it in a statement, because there are businesses who are making our food, right? And they want the best output. So literally, they are the people who are handling our food, and there's no natural food. I mean, left. If you go to your village and you find some, wild beans or something growing there that nobody ever touched, probably that's the only natural food that's left. But anything coming into the city through some businessmen and through some, it has been modified by man. So yes, I agree with that. That these cells that go into the human body, the human digestive system that knew these things for thousands and thousands of years, now it cannot recognize that cell anymore, and it does not know actually how to break it down, processes, and what to do with it. And some of it, of course, since you've given food to the human body, your human body is going to, the acid is going to break it down and do something to it. It's not just all going to pass away. But as it gets broken down, it's a new molecule, and maybe those new molecules are not going to be absorbed, but they're going to get stuck and create irritation to the cells. So very right. I agree with that about food. And what could be my advice to people in general for preventing cancers? Overall, it is just the degradation from how things existed naturally. Okay, and most man-made things come without natural sciences. Like I said, all the electricities. Human body never knew electricity is close to its being, before. And so that's not something new for the human cells to figure out, and they are having a hard time, dealing with it. So I will relate something to an article of mine got published in the Goa newspapers regarding COVID, and it is an article about what can a common man do, to protect himself from COVID. And I said the main thing is immunity. If you have a high immunity, then you can, fight the virus, and that's the reality. People with high immunity, they're not even feeling that the virus comes and it goes, and they don't feel anything. People with medium immunity get the cough, cold, flu, and all of that, and joint pains, and it leaves them after 4 5 days. But people with low immunity, they are the ones who are getting the breathlessness and the thrombosis and landing up in the ICU. And in that article, I mentioned, that it's just open here on my laptop. So the first I put over there, the immunity is going down. And obviously, when your immunity is down, your cells are going to malfunction, and they are a lower operating parameter. So if you're going to have bad energy coming from your own self or outside, your cells are not going to take it so well. If you have toxic food, toxic cosmetics, toxic environment, or the quality of your air, low immune system is not going to be able to fight it. And then, of course, low strength in the cells can't fight parasites as well. But there's a lot of extensive research, even on the work of Nikola Tesla and Dr. Hulda Clark, and that goes into very, vibrational energy and the structure of cells, and many other authors too, to very clearly understand what are parasitic cancers. And I've seen many cases of those cancers. So if your immunity is high, then your cells can fight some foreign organism. Okay. Now, why does immunity go low? And in this COVID article, I'm bringing it up because it's the same things that we got to do now. Whether it is you're trying to save yourself from COVID or cancer. So there, I put in the article. The first thing is that stop eating unhealthy foods such as animal products and products, even milk, anything that comes from a processed factory, and because they've got a lot of chemicals in them besides the antibiotics and the synthetic hormones, which are actually classified, some of them are classified as carcinogenic, which is cancer causing, or synthetic hormones. So the food is one of the main thing. The second is body products. uh, they have listed the causes using body products and cleaning agents and detergents that contain chemicals. So it's not only on your body, whatever you're touching and what you're washing with, that also, those chemicals and go into your body. So, and people want cheap products. You see, cheap products are not going to come off natural materials. They're going to come from chemicals. Unfortunately, that's the reality. You try to bring a washing powder from 100 rupees down to 50 rupees. You can imagine it's going to have double that amount of chemicals because they make it from artificial stuff. So the third point I put over there, what is really cutting down the immune system, is living on allopathic medicines to manage chronic illnesses. Okay, so not only me, many others in the world who are experts in their field are doing workshops or written books on how to reverse high BP, cholesterol, diabetes, obesity, hormonal imbalance, arthritis, liver problems, kidney problems, with integrated natural therapies. And it is happening. My patients are who have done my programs are reversing high BP, cholesterol. Cholesterol takes about 5-6 months, but high BP, diabetes, obesity also dropping 10 kilos in about 2-3 months. It's happening in 2-3 months. So from this we know that allopathic medicines, of course, they do not cure you. You have to take them for the rest of your life. Okay, so they're not curative in nature, but many of them, they start from natural molecules, like, and most of them are plant-based medicine, meaning it comes the basic substance comes from a root, a bark, a leaf, a seed, a grain, or even a fruit. But when they take it and they put it, I worked in pharma facilities where they were making medicines. So in the manufacturing process, high temperatures, high pressures, they combine these natural molecules and they become inorganic, something that the human cell cannot recognize. So a Saradon will take off your headache, but if you take it for a long time, it could damage your kidney. Okay, so people on these allopathic medicines who think they are managing their lives, oh, I got diabetes and I do insulin, or I do this thing and that thing, and I'm okay. They are living on chemicals, and those chemicals severely degrade your body function, and that's why immunity goes low. So anybody, and that's what's happening with the COVID. You've heard this word, right? Comorbid patients are dying. Who are comorbid? Those people who are having lifestyle illnesses and taking allopathic medicines. So similarly for cancer, if you want to have higher immunity, then you need to get these illnesses out of your system and stop taking allopathic medicine. I'm not saying stop the medicines. You do the treatments, reverse the illness, and then your medicines can taper down. The next point I mentioned there was the bad electricities, which we've already spoken about. And yeah, I mentioned even 5G over there, which we've talked about. And the last I put over there, sedentary lives. And with the lockdown now, nobody's getting exercise. So if you get exercise and you have energy in your flow in your body, your immunity will go high. So that's the similar advice that I, preventive advice that I give to people who are, who want to prevent themselves from getting cancer, right? Go back to natural things, back to natural food, natural exercise, natural surroundings, and try to get most of these modern man-made unnatural chemicals in their different form out of your life. That's one of the reasons I left Mumbai and I came to Goa to live a very, as far as possible natural life. I grow some of my own food every day by eating that, so I have a guarantee that my food is natural to whatever degree it can be. Um, so that's my advice for prevention of cancer. And of course, meditate, resolve all your stresses because a stressed up energy system is also going to take your your blood pressure and your diabetes higher. Okay. So the magic formula is for somebody who is got cancer. Maybe we'll take that later. So this is what I have to say for the general public, who wants to prevent getting cancer. Thank you.
All right. So now the last question is, what advice would you give to a person suffering from cancer? So Jay, would you like to take this?
Sure. Um, See, for us, cancer is one more relationship with our body. And cancer is a state of our cells screaming to us for help. Technologies like chemotherapy, which were vaguely invented in Hitler's gas chambers, are destructive technologies created during wartime, based on chemicals. And the idea there is to destroy the cancer cells. For us, the cancer cells are not some enemy cells, they are our own cells. They are like our own children who need healing, and not punishment, and not a death sentence. So that's the first thing to understand. All chemicals and, like Daryl mentioned, unnatural molecules in any form, whether it be from the skin, which is the largest organ on our body, to food that we have to eat 2 or 3 times every day, entire life. Otherwise, we can't live. We are made up of food, and um, so we need to. If someone has cancer, first thing you have to do is basically go on an organic vegetarian food diet, minus all the chemicals. And when we say organic, again, I say we have to look at it closely, the meaning of organic. Truly organic in nature is something that is designed by nature, which is the genetics have not lost their authenticity. And these crops, we are very lucky in a country like India, we still have about 30-40% is still heirloom variety. In the cities, we just don't have so much access to it. But if you dig a little deeper, in every market, there'll always be a few, very few local farmers who still do it the traditional way, still grow the traditional varieties. They're more expensive. Wherever you go in this country, they know the value of it now. Dig and look for those, encourage those farmers, eat their food, tell them that, if they can not use urea and things like that in their farming, then they have some really God-made food for you, which can heal you, or which can heal the cells of cancer. Because when the cancer cells start interacting with these natural God-made foods, they automatically calm down. They get relieved of their stress and their agony. And then there are superfoods also, which we work with at Anna Heirloom Foods at Asagaon. Things like spirulina and hemp, and a bunch of other ancient foods. We say ancient because the varieties are ancient, For example, our haldi, it has a curcumin level of 9, which is theoretically, they say it's not possible. But we work with some of these foods from the ancient world, thanks to my teacher and the lady who has brought all this, made all this possible by working for 50 years as an organic farming activist and also an anti-corruption activist, Annie Kohli. She cultivates what is one of the purest, most potent spirulina in the world. Her farmers create some of the most powerful medicinal foods because they've been taught natural methods and they had the ancient varieties with them. So I would urge everyone to, maybe if you're in Goa, please do visit us at the store to understand what ancient food and what original food, the power of that really is, and the relevance of that in days of cancer and low immunity, pandemics. So yeah, go back to nature, get some sun, do your own farming, try to grow some own heirloom food if you can around you. Even in an urban city, you can in your balcony. There are ways to do it, organic ways, simple ways. Start growing your own food and eating it. That's the only way out.
Great. Thank you, Jay. So we'll take the question to Evelic. Dr. Evelic.
Yeah, thank you. There have been many clients who came to me in the last few years who were suffering or were diagnosed to have cancer. And being a sound therapist and a voice therapist, I worked with them on the energy level. Of course, the body part that, Jay spoke of really, working with having a good vegetarian diet, getting the body into an alkaline state, all that is important. But what I'm going to highlight here is the work that I've done with sound and vibration. So while using the Tibetan singing bowls, each of these bowls comes with a very different frequency. So most of them are above the frequency of 500 hertz and above. And how it works is it has something known as, it's the property of sound, the property of resonance. And the property of resonance is simple. If I play a bowl which has a frequency of 800 hertz, and the body usually in a disease state has a frequency of something below 100 hertz or even below that. So what happens is, because of the property of resonance, whatever is the highest frequency in the room, everything in that room attunes to the frequency that is the highest. So when I'm playing a bowl of 800 hertz, my body, even though it's right now resonating or vibrating at 100 hertz, it starts vibrating at 800 hertz. What happens is, now if you can see it like in a virtual way, is the cells start vibrating. All that is not of 800 hertz starts getting shed into the cellular fluid. And we usually advise our clients to drink a lot of water and to cleanse. So if you want to see it as a metaphor, it's like cleaning your inner rivers or your inner energy channels and taking off the toxins. Another thing that I would like to bring the attention to is working with emotional health. And that would mean being able, bringing the client to express themselves. Most of the times it is seen that many clients, one of the biggest emotion is fear, as well as deep-seated anger and resentment that they hold. So gently navigating that space of working with them to, go to the root of what am I angry about? What is this? Where is this coming from? And can I work with it? Can I release that anger, or can I use certain tools? There are lovely tools available today and such wonderful teachers who are going again back, and this is all ancient wisdom, body wisdom, tools and techniques that don't include taking and popping pills, but just tapping your body, something like an emotional freedom technique or an acupressure. So many of these techniques can be used to work with the emotional health. So healing is coming back to wholeness, coming back to the state of homeostasis in the body. So we need to work with the client to bring them at all levels, the physical, the energetic level, the mental level, emotional, as well as their spiritual health. And then as they come together in all these different areas, surely they can come back and bring themselves to healing the cancer. And like Jess said, it is a cry from the cell. And just like a mother who loves her children, when her babies cry, she's reaching out to them with love. And I think that is one of the biggest elixirs that can bring healing, and that is love. So this is what I feel can really help a person who's already diagnosed with cancer.
It's really beautiful. Thank you, Doctor. Now, Dr. Shika, would you like to say a few words?
Yeah, I can say a few things. Well, first thing I want to say is actually that we have all been talking about this is causing the problem, that problem, this problem. I mean, cancer is caused by this problem, that problem, or whatever is happening, and we need to heal here, we need to heal there. But when somebody gets a cancer, then the story completely shifts for that person. Now it's not just a talk. Now it's about bringing into practicality what we are basically talking about. So the most important thing for a person who wants to heal himself or herself of cancer is to ask one simple question: is why do they want to heal themselves of cancer? What is the main reason? Is it their fear of death, or is it their wish to live? I mean, I get this line from a guy called Chris Walk, who healed himself of cancer at the age of maybe, I think he was in early 20s, of a 4th stage colon cancer. So that's the most important question. Why do you want to actually heal yourself of cancer? If it's coming from the fear of death, then at some point you're going to give up and say, whatever, I can't take care of myself anymore, I will rather die. But if you actually are wanting to live, if you really want to live, that's when the process starts, because that's when you really determine. First and foremost is the determination within you that you want to actually heal yourself. You want to get out of it. And then you will find portals, you will find ways to get by, you will find, because there's like hundreds of different protocols which are available around the world to clean yourself of different toxins, to change your life. Whatever we discussed in prevention, everything applies to a patient of cancer. They have to do everything, but many folds more stricter, more disciplined than a person who is simply trying to prevent cancer. So a person with cancer cannot have cheat days, cannot have leeways. The person has to have the determination, yes, I want to do it, and then he or she goes for it. They will find ways. So you want to treat yourself of cancer, first form the determination. Then you start with everything we discussed so far: natural foods, changing your circadian rhythm, connecting yourself to the nature, taking all the chemicals and poisons as much as possible away. And then you start with detoxing. Then you connect to a person, or you connect to a protocol, you connect to a doctor who helps you find ways where you can actually work and try to remove everything that is creating acidity in your body, environment that causes cancer. And maybe in some cases where the cancer is fast growing, where if you're in a 4th stage or in a 3rd stage, where you may not have years and years to wait to clean it slowly on your own, you may need certain therapies which will help to decrease the cancer load. So yeah, everything has to come together. Your determination is the most important. Your will to live is the most important. Then the portals will come your way. So follow the diet, follow the environment. You do need to take certain, probably people with 1st and 2nd stage cancer, they can go just diet and cleaning themselves, meditation, healing energetically can help them. For some people where it has gone too far, where cancers are really spread, they would need to take some natural treatments. I am pretty much against doing allopathic, radiation, chemo, surgery, unless and until somebody has a cancer which is totally blocking the gut, colon cancer, where it has blocked your gut and you just can't move it. There you will have to remove the cancer if you want to actually live for the next day. But if it is not the case, then rather avoid these allopathic treatments, because they actually eventually lead to spread of cancer. So try and avoid that. You will have time enough to go through certain natural channels. I believe you could use high doses of vitamin C along with vitamin K as chemotherapy agents. which could help to decrease the cancer load when combined with other treatments, when combined with other methods where you make sure you treat your body through detoxes, through diet, through emotional releases. The same way you could use herbs, certain herbs which can help you clean up. Daryl mentions that in his book. He has a lot of things to say about it. I don't need to go into that because that's really specific. You take certain herbs that will help to clean up your organs, to make sure when your cancer dies, it has a channel to go out. I really love Gerson therapy protocol, which is followed where it's juicing, it's pure raw food diet. And important thing in cancer is eat less. We are focusing on diet. What should we eat when we have cancer? In cancer, you should eat as little as possible and eat as raw as possible. Raw foods, some people can digest raw foods easy, others don't. Those who don't, they should shift to making smoothies or kind of, pulping the food so that it is more easily assimilated by the system without needing the energies of the body to digest. So actually, if you have cancer, shift your focus from what should I eat to eating actually less, allowing your body to clean up, do the detoxes, eat less. You will change the way you feel. And I'm 100% sure it will bring some shift in your system. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you, Doctor. Now I would ask Daryl to answer this question on what advice he would give to cancer suffering patients of cancer.
Yes, the first thing is, of course, cancer, it almost sounds like a death sentence. So the first thing is for people to, not get so disturbed, but how do you shift that energy? Okay. So here's a technique that if you get a new project you've never done in your life, okay, but like Dr. Shika says, you have made the decision to fight cancer, or you make the decision that, okay, I'm going to do this new project. Okay, then what, your creative energy start opening up, and then you start using all your tools to work on this project. Okay, it's a challenging project, it's the first time in your life, it's something very tough, but you're up to it. So when you're up to it, my advice is this: look at the three domains of what I've shared about, chronic irritation. So one is, of course, the energy domain. So now whether you have an energy cancer or a substance cancer or a parasitic cancer, isn't it good for everybody? So somebody may ask me the question in the Q&A box, how do we identify which kind of cancer and what the treatment is? So here's my simple answer. Isn't it good to, resolve all your relationship issues, settle all your stress? Isn't it good to take out Wi-Fi? In fact, this is the first month now. I announced it 3 months back that, I'm getting off all Wi-Fi and Bluetooth and all of that, and I'm only going to have cabled internet in my house, and I've done that now. And then I said, for the most of the time, I'm going to get rid of this cell phone, mobile, and I'm going to use it only when I'm mobile. That is only in my car. And when I'm in the house, I'm going to have a Skype phone. Skype phone I was using in 2009. Okay, I could call anybody across the world. So that's got a cable and going into your internet, socket. Okay. So the first thing is we can do all of these things, make it a very interesting project. So there's a shift of energy, the shift of energy from fear to creativity, and let me, start working on things. And so the first step is, so anybody who has any type of cancer, it's a good idea to resolve your stress, your emotions, the bad energy around your face. Second, it's a good idea for anybody, whether for immunity or long life or cancer, to have purer foods, to get off all packaged and processed foods. Second, and the third is regarding parasites. Um, in my book, there's a chapter, cleanse therapy chapter, what Dr. Shika mentioned is that you've got to detox your body. Detox your body is for two things. First is to take out all the chemicals. Okay, so there's a colon cleanse, there's an intestine cleanse, kidney cleanse, liver cleanse, all of that. And there's a parasite cleanse also. So the normal cleanses, which are not the parasitic cleanse, they will take out these inorganic substances from your body through your stools, through your blood, through your sweat, all of that. And to get rid of parasites, we know that there are parasites in the human body. You get worms, you get germs, you get so many things. So bitter foods like neem and all of that, will take out certain parasites. So there are certain natural parasite substances like oregano oil or black walnut hull, and even things like garlic and all will be able to take out some parasites. So there are natural substances that can take out parasites, and it's good to do that also, clean your system of parasites. But like I mentioned, there are some parasites which are very quite strong and they don't die easily with natural substances. And that's the only place where I've seen, where the use of chemotherapy has prevented somebody from dying at that point of time. Now, people think chemotherapy, that is a chemical that's put in your bloodstream, is killing the malignant cells. No, it's not actually killing the malignant cells. That blood is going into the cells, and the parasites, the microscopic parasites that are in the cells, they are being killed. So you have a person who goes through 6 rounds of chemotherapy and all, and then the cancer markers and all of that come down. So you have some successful cases where they don't have a relapse, and they're cancer free for 3, 4, 5 years, and they're they think, wow, it happens. But some cases, maybe 90% of the parasites or 95% of the parasites are killed. But even that 2, 3, 4, 5 parasite small colonies, they spread. They go through the bloodstream, and then you hear the story. It was in the liver, then after 1 year or 2 years, now it's in the brain. So it takes the time, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, for those colonies to regrow and multiply again and again, create problems in the brain, or maybe in the kidney this time, or in the parasite, in the pancreas. So I've seen this happen for a lot of cases, um, where so I with so the only time I say, when there's when I can understand that there's a cancer that's parasitic. Okay, that means if people can do the energy cleanse, can do the food cleanse, can do the detox. Even then, if their cancer persists, then there is some indication it could be a parasitic cancer. And in real life, in the medical industry, there is no other option. After you've tried all the natural, meditation, cleaning, and all the herbs and everything, and you are, really it's called a galloping cancer, then people are have no other option than radiation and chemotherapy. And it is a fact that people have used that and survived and lived, 2, 3, 4 years longer. So so that would be my, hierarchy of advice. It's a good thing to, clean up your energy, um, clean up your food, clean up your cosmetics, keep everything natural, and try and do natural parasite cleanses if the cancer is in your gut or some, internal organs. And the last option is chemotherapy, unfortunately, for some people.
So one of the questions which are there, 1 minute. Okay. What's the role of antioxidants to keep cancer away? Anyone who would like to take this?
I can attempt to take this. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Sure, we can hear you and see you.
Okay, so at we work with something called spirulina. Spirulina is the only blue-green algae. The blue protein that it has is called phycocyanin in modern science. And this phycocyanin is also considered to be the blue color from which the sky gets the blue color because it reflects off the blue color in the water from this algae, and that's another story. But this blue pigment is a phenomenal pigment. It's like it's called an antioxidant stimulant. In a very basic language, you can say it's like a very powerful antioxidant. A lot of people get confused about the meaning of antioxidant. An antioxidant is something that oxidizes an element that might be oxidizing your cell. So oxygen is what we need to do a lot of the toxic cleanup in the body, and that's why we need antioxidants in our body. The oxygen acts as the antioxidant because something else is oxidizing your cell, and that has to be oxidized, and that's what antioxidants do. So cancer is a state where we have, it's always a state where there are too many toxins in the body. You will not find a cancer in a person whose system is alkaline and does not have toxins in it, or a history of consuming toxins in one way or the other. So yes, antioxidants is one of the most important things, and therefore spirulina is one of the most relevant things in the world today, even more than before. The problem with spirulina is, again, you don't get good spirulina anywhere, but that's a whole nother story. But that's what antioxidants are really relevant to cancer for removing toxins from the system.
Yes, I would like to add to that about this oxidation process of the cells. So when if you take a packaged food product, right, it's in an airtight container, and it's got these chemicals inside which actually are so powerful that they defy the law of decomposition. Okay, everything that is natural, like a mango or anything, there's a natural mango and it's going to decompose. But if you want to keep it in a tin for 1-2 years, then you've got some chemicals inside it. So these are powerful chemicals because they can break the laws of nature and the laws of God, and they're all man-made chemicals. So you have to understand how powerful these chemicals are that are there in these processed food products of ours. Now you have seen that many times there will be an artificial coloring agent, artificial tasting agent, a preservative by itself, and there's this thing called stabilizer. Now why does this? It's got a name, name to it. But what is a stabilizer? A stabilizer is like your headmaster or a teacher in the classroom when all the children are making too much noise or fighting with each other. The stabilizer will say order, order. Okay. The stabilizer is a chemical that cuts the cross reaction between other chemicals, because if it is not put in place, that whole food package could have got spoiled. That's why they call it a stabilizer. So we actually have atomic warfare happening in these packaged food products, and they're all airtight. Now we take them home and then we open it and we allow that atomic warfare to happen inside our body. Okay, now many of these chemicals are imbalanced and they're missing electrons. So as they go down your throat and your intestines, they're robbing all the electrons from your gut lining, from your stomach lining, and that's what we look as mild inflammation. Doctors, whether it's an endoscopy or colonoscopy, and it shows mild inflammation, and the doctors say, oh, that's nothing, everybody has got mild inflammation. Well, because everybody is eating this lousy, packaged food products. It's a normal thing. We have been seeing for the last 20 years that people have mild inflammation, and nobody dies with mild inflammation. But that's the first degree of attack. So what are antioxidants? Okay, now antioxidants are, it's green tea, even walking barefoot on the earth. See, when you exercise and you run, there's lactic acid buildup. There is certain oxidation process going on in the body, but electrons, negative electrons, from the earth, they come and they give their charge, and then a balance happens. So from eating all these food products, all these chemicals that are going into your body through your cosmetics and all, the green tea and the other antioxidant, natural substances, their electrons will be absorbed and they stabilize the system. So yes, so there's a relationship between and antioxidants come in the middle to save our inflamed gut lining and all. So an inflamed gut lining and digestive tract is a recipe for cancer. So right, so when you put in the antioxidants, all that gets healed, and it has a better healing effect for cancer.
Thank you, Daryl. So the next question, which has come from Snigdha, is about molecules, the concept of molecules becoming organic, whether it applies to multivitamins too.
So yeah, I'll just give you a recent example. So multivitamins, yeah, I think the way Ayurveda makes things, that is with natural temperature, natural processes. Of course, some Ayurvedic companies they are doing certain unnatural processes, but if they follow the traditional Ayurveda, uh, if they want to heat it, they'll keep it under the sun or they'll rub it. Okay, if they want to pasteurize it, it'll be banged with something. When you do these natural processes, the molecules remain organic. But when you take it several levels above atmospheric pressure or you combine it with other chemicals, then they lose their organic nature. The example what I wanted to give you is some of my patients were having a prostate problem and I was giving them a Ayurvedic herbal product from my Kiva range of products. Okay, and it was called prostate care or something. Yeah. So because there's another version of it that's come. So the original one had uh, this zinc, okay, zinc orotate and zinc aspartate. And when they took that, within 5 days to 1 week's time, their frequent urination and urination at night and all came down within 1 week's time. Okay. Then the company stopped making that product and they made a different product of, zinc called Z plus. First it was zinc plus. Now it became Z plus. In Z plus, it neither had zinc orotate nor zinc aspartate and they started having that and they said no, our condition is coming back, this is not working. Then I said then I spoke to the manufacturers, they said no, we are not going to make this product anymore. Then we went to the pharma companies and in the pharmaceutical you're only getting zinc acetate, okay, and that is doing nothing for them. Their urination all went back to the same level and their prostate problem whatever healing happened, some percent of it, 30% or 40% of it got reversed. So you can see from this where natural molecules heal. And if there are certain other molecules that are made in factories, they don't have the exact atomic structure and they may not do the same work. I think Jay last year he spoke on this, denatured molecules. Could you please share?
Yeah, exactly. So there's a term called denaturing, uh, and it means basically, denaturing happens all the time by humans at every level. Even in the kitchen, every day we denature things. So we can take the purest food, and if we burn it, for example, we have denatured it in a way. So another example of denaturing is also few people know how plastic is made. So plastic is a process of denaturing something. That's how we get plastic. So when you take a natural resource which is biodegradable by earth, which is say like crude oil, and what we do, humans, we put industrial pressure and heat and chemicals and force on it, and we denature the molecules and we create something that nature cannot break down, something like a plastic. It becomes unrecognizable by nature, those molecules. And that's the process of denaturing. And it's a very dangerous process which we undermine all the time. So a lot of packaged foods, if you see, especially all over the world in developed nations, they have all these kale chips and all these superfoods, spirulina kale chips, and all these packaged foods with A grade ingredients mentioned, but I'm sorry to say, a lot of them are just cancer causing because they are denatured. So you can take absolutely good ingredients and denature them and make them toxic. So denaturing is a very important thing for everyone to understand. And that's why delicate slow cooking in the house was the tradition, on a pot and a wooden fire, so that you don't denature your food. You don't kill it, you let it be the way it is intended to be eaten, not broken down into some deformed molecules.
Yes, so thanks, Jay. And I would like to also mention the overall philosophy, which is, of course, science. It's not in anybody's head. And the basic science is that this human body has developed for, thousands and thousands of years. And it has got that memory. Whatever can be food to the human body has that memory. Okay, and it knows to work with that. And here we come and we create new substances and new foods in the last 10, 20 years. And we are trying to tell such an intelligent being, you change your makeup, you change your design, because we have made these whatever kale chips and all of that. The human body is not stupid, it's made by the cosmos, and we are the nutcases who are trying to modify it. It's not going to listen to us. It gives a reply, it tries to fight back, and that fight back is, yeah, if you put a lot of rubbish in it, you're going to have a lump growing with the name cancer.
Great, great. The next question is actually to Jay, especially, where can people get heirloom seeds around the country? Questions were asking whether it's online or whether in Delhi, but overall, how can they get heirloom seeds?
Heirloom is a term we use for the new generation and for the world to understand. In our country, the words are Desi, Desi Bij in North India, Nati in South India, and Gauti in Goa, and Gauti in Maharashtra. And so you have to know the local term for it, and you have to just ask around a little bit. It's not that rare. It is rare because it is not talk of popular media. So there is no focus on it. But in the coming years, people will understand that heirloom or Desi organic or Nati organic is the only real organic that was created by nature. Everything else that we are eating today has not been created by God or nature. It has been modified over decades and decades by man in the farm, mixing, it's called selective selection. And mutation happens because we take, for example, we'll take one wheat and another wheat, and we'll plant them both, and then whatever comes out, we'll select the one which is softer and bigger and sweeter and whatever, and then we keep doing that, and then we end up with something that's a mutated strain. And unfortunately, most of the food that we eat everywhere is that, especially in the urban areas. But even in urban areas, go to your local farming markets, you will see Desi stuff, inquire with the farmer, just like how organic has become relatively commonly understood that, okay, chemicals should not be in your crops. Same way, the understanding that your crops should be not genetically mutated will come about. We don't have a choice. We have to go back to the way it was. Otherwise, we will not be healed. So it's going to be a natural progression. But for anyone who's listening here, I mean, please pay attention to what is Desi in our country and dig for it and eat that.
Thank you, Jay. That's very interesting. The next question actually for Dr. Evelett was around music, that if we don't have Tibetan bowls, can we, are there other sources of various frequency sound music on YouTube?
Yes. So there is something known as solfeggio meditations, solfeggio vibrations. You can look up on the internet, you will find them. But I would like to also give a word of caution, because these musical frequencies take a person into a very deep space. Now, if there is unresolved trauma and unresolved emotions, it can actually shake the person up. So it has to be done, along with a music therapist or a voice therapist, someone who can guide you through it. Or in another way is just play those solfeggio sounds and see if, it's not affecting you. Because many times, because of the unhealed traumas, clients actually get into a deeper trauma by listening to that. So, tread safely in this space. but yes, there is a lot of music available. And again, you can also play something very simple as, calming sounds. Calming sounds are, the tone of lullabies that babies here, we mothers used to sing lullabies for babies to put them to sleep. So it takes the body into a state of deep relaxation, and the brain waves go from the regular beta waves to alpha and then into theta waves. So, and we also know now, again, science has proven that when your brain goes into theta waves, the whole body has gone into a very deep rest and relaxation, and that is when the immune system kicks in and the healing process begins. So that could also be another way of, bringing music therapy to alleviate stress for an individual.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Evelyn. The next question is about lemon and turmeric, whether it helps in cancer. Anyone who would like to take this?
I can give a quick word on this because we work with a special, I mentioned earlier, very ancient strain of turmeric. It's a little brown in color. You open the bottle and the whole room sort of, you can smell the fragrance in it. It's that powerful. And sorry, a lot of people ask, that, hey, is haldi good for me? Is almonds good for me? Is an apple good for me? Is a banana good for me? So we live in a world where we have access to everything that we can name from all over the world. But the problem is that neither your banana nor your apple and nor your spirulina, nothing is pure and original anymore, neither your haldi. So the most important thing when we set out to look for these superfoods is to look out for the authentic versions of any superfood. If you can find the gouti, for example, the gouti lemons you get in Goa, they are so delicious, and and the other lemons that you get in the market here, the smaller ones, they just seem so lifeless compared to these, that just once you start eating it, you feel and you know that this is something superior. So first and foremost, please look for authentic heirloom produce, whatever you're looking to eat, whether it be haldi or lemon. I think the other panelists might be more qualified to tell you exactly what it can do in your body for you.
Yes. Anybody else? Dr. Shika, would you like to take this?
I think Daryl can take this.
Oh, yeah, sure. Okay, I will. Saline is, of course, acidic in nature. You can test it with the pH strip. Some people think it's alkaline. It's alkaline forming in the body when your liver makes enough of bile. Then it is alkaline forming. If your liver function is down, then your acidic lime and lime shots and all are not going to alkalize your body. Okay. So it is a very strong thing. It can kill a lot of germs. And of course, it's high in vitamin C. Okay, so definitely it'll be something that will be good for cancer. Now, turmeric is also very good for killing a wide range of parasites in the body. It's also, an antioxidant. It's a good nutrient. But a caution to people who are planning on taking, turmeric in a glass of water. Uh, you should take breaks. If you do it, if you do it 20 days in a row or 25 days in a row, you'll see a lot of internal heat in the body, and sometimes blisters coming up. Okay, so don't overdo any of these things. Don't overdo saline. Don't overdo turmeric. My general advice is, yeah, you can take it for a week every day, and then take a break of 2-3 days, and then continue it again, so that it goes up to a certain level, then the body brings it down to a safer level, and then you can continue. So both of these things, yes, they will show good results for mainly this germ or parasite kind of cancer. Okay, but for energy cancers and all, not much. You've got to work on your energy system. Uh, in terms of detox and you know getting substances out of your body, like toxic substances to your food and your uh, cosmetics. Uh, a good thing is spirulina, wheat grass. They bind, all of these things that are in your blood and take them out. Even activated charcoal. That's also very good to take out chemicals from your body. So that's for a substance kind of cancer.
One thing I would add about turmeric is actually turmeric in whole is like heating, as you said. You can't take it for too long. But there is this extract of turmeric called curcumin in different
Right.
forms. That curcumin is actually very, very helpful in cancer. Curcumin per se, if you take, it really allows your liver to clean up. It allows the bile to flow. It metabolizes or increases the metabolism of xenoestrogens, which is what you find in your shampoos, which is you find in your cosmetic products. The xenoestrogens, which really creates a trouble by blocking your hormones, by creating other issues with your insulin resistance. It blocks your thyroid, it blocks your insulin pancreas, and it blocks your sex hormones. So curcumin really allows your body to detox those. And along with that, curcumin is a very powerful, very potent anti-inflammatory agent. So I ask my patients when they are taking a lot of turmeric, and I say, yeah, turmeric is good. Just like Daryl says, you can't overdo with turmeric per se. But the extract of turmeric, which is curcumin, can be taken for long. Isn't that correct? I think turmeric, I have not seen curcumin. With curcumin, I have not seen this problem of heating up.
Yes, that's right. Even I have not come across any indication or anybody who has taken, curcumin capsules. I've seen people taking that for about 3 months in a row and no negative, reaction to it.
The next question which came in was about ginger as well from Dr. Rita. If anyone would like to just add on that. Any of the panelists? Ginger in helping cancer?
Ginger, yeah, ginger is one of the foods that, of course, works because ginger is something that what I use ginger in my practice is for mainly increasing the digestive juices. Ginger is something that increases the agni in your gut. So once you have more digestive juices, you digest and absorb your food better. So that's one purpose I use ginger for. And of course, ginger is again anti-inflammatory, like turmeric. It has its role in boosting up your immune system. So yes, people who have digestive issues, who have cancer, if they use ginger, like a square inch of ginger in their smoothies, in their juices, it will allow them to metabolize and absorb their food better.
Great. Thank you, doctor. One question was coming up about shampoos. The first question is if we have organic kind of hair serums, do we what was something other than plastic which we can transport them in, because glass is difficult to transport and store? And then of course the questions that can you tell us the damage caused by the typical shampoos and conditioners and their role in creating cancers?
I would say use steel.
All right.
That would be then the easiest thing that doesn't get damaged.
Yes, and about the damage, it's the same thing what I had explained earlier. You see, you put these shampoos and on your head. Of course, they go in through your pores. Okay, it goes in through your pores and reaches the bloodstream, and then from the bloodstream, it will start flowing within the body. Um, some of the chemicals may be, maybe your kidneys can filter them out, but some they don't. And I have my teacher who saved my life in 2004, Mr. Ashwin Dalal. His brother got cancer, and so they couldn't figure out how he got the cancer. He was being treated at in Dijal hospital. Then he had to went to some Ayurvedic center, and I happened to be in Bombay at that time. So I was just talking to him and trying to figure out, that's my first line in cancer. I'm trying to figure out, is it from the energy domain, substance domain, or parasitic domain? So I just talked to him for 10 minutes, and it came out that, he's totally a non-smoker, non-alcoholic and all, but he was a pharmacist working in a cosmetics company. And then I said, okay. So he said, what was the job? He should say, I used to formulate cosmetics, okay, in the laboratory and in the office. So I did that for so many years. Then I said, and since how long are you retired? He said, I'm retired now since I think 6 years. Okay. Then I could not see why, and what are you doing? He said, I'm sitting at home. Okay. I said, fine, good. I know those environments where they make it. It's all clean room environment, which it's very, filtered air and all of that. It was a safe environment. Then I said, but what do you do in your house beside that? He says, oh, actually, my bedroom, actually hall. He said, part of my hall, I've made a small cabinet. Okay. And in that cabinet, I make cosmetics for my family and relatives. So that he started doing. And for me, that was the only indicator where he's using these chemicals from wherever the sources that his company was getting. He's working in a non-filtered environment, and those things he's breathing in, and those things have gone into his body, okay, before the final manufacturing process in their raw form. So yeah, so these things that get into the human body, if you have to take them out, it can only be with cleanses. And earlier, like I mentioned, natural substances, what I mentioned, wheatgrass and spirulina and activated charcoal. uh, just read my book on the chapter on cancer, and it'll give you some processes of how to deal with these things. And uh, cancers also happen when there are similar these. Dr. Shika, would you like to mention, does chelation therapy also help take out toxic substances from the body?
Yes, actually, that is one of the very important therapies, because what is chelation is, chelation is a process where you remove heavy metals from the body. Chelate means, it's like we use a substance called EDTA. You can use chelation through natural measures, like spirulina is very good chelating agent. Chlorella is a very good chelating agent. Coriander is a chelating agent. So what chelation does is it helps to remove heavy metals. And a lot of parasites, that Daryl has been talking about parasitic cancers, a lot of parasites, they survive on heavy metals. They take in, they accumulate heavy metals like lead and mercury into them, which makes them immune to our white blood cells, because white cells, neutrophils and macrophages, they get paralyzed in the presence of heavy metals and they cannot function properly. When they cannot function properly, diseases pop up. So one of the ways to get rid of parasites from your system, from your liver, from your tissues, from your cells, is to allow your body to chelate those heavy metals out. Once the heavy metals are out, it activates your immune system, and it can reach far reaches of the far corners of your body to take out those parasites, kill them. So yes, chelation is something you can use it naturally. And if you want to really fast forward the process of chelation, then I use intravenous chelation therapy, where you basically put in EDTA, you use DMSA, you inject it into the body, and that is like quite a few times more potent than taking spirulina and chlorella. But again, considering our body system, one has to be very careful who can take IV chelation, for whom it is just better to slowly detox using spirulina and chlorella. Chelation is very good for this, yes.
And to complete my answer, yes, there are a lot of herbal shampoos, so you can switch to that. Currently, I'm using a herbal shampoo from Kiva, and in Goa also there is a brand in which they make from they use cow urine in it, and that's the current one that I'm using. Okay, so there are natural shampoo, and it doesn't smell at all. Okay, it's wonderfully fragrant. So cow urine does have some healing properties for the So instead of putting a chemical, you are putting something that's healing into your body. Okay, so look out for herbal shampoos. I'm also selling on the market vegan, that is, no animal product inside it, aromatherapy soaps. Okay, so look out for all. If you go searching for these things, you will find them.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you, Daryl. Search and you should find. So this brings us to the end of another really interesting and entertaining webinar, very informative for most of our attendees. And I would like to thank all our panelists, Dr. Evelyn Sequeira, Jay Sutaria, Dr. Shikha Agarwal, and Daryl D'Souza for a very interesting session.